In 2018, Pixar released a movie called Coco. How many have seen that movie? Okay, good. Okay. This movie is based on the Mexican tradition of Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead. Similar to Jewish tradition, this movie extensively explores the theme of memory, that idea of keeping alive the spirits of our ancestors. The main character of the movie is Miguel, who's the great-grandson of Coco. Coco suffers from Alzheimer's. So I asked who saw the movie earlier, because there's a little bit of a spoiler alert. I'm only sharing the end of the movie because it came out 4 years ago, so I figure if you haven't seen it yet, you're probably not going to see it. In the final scene of the movie Coco, there she is, hunched over in her wheelchair. She's staring off into nowhere. Miguel desperately wants her to remember her beloved father, Hector. He tries everything. He shows her Hector's guitar. He shows her a family photo. Still, no recognition. With one last ounce of hope, he begins to strum the guitar. And he performs the song that Coco's papa wrote for her as a little girl. Remember me, he sings in a near whisper through tears. Though I have to say goodbye, Coco's hand twitches ever so slightly. Remember me, each time you hear a sad guitar, the tiniest flicker in her eyes. Know that I'm with you the only way that I can be. Coco's face begins to come alive. She shuts her eyes and joins in with a large smile upon her face. Until you're in my arms again, remember me. Miguel is filled with joy as they lock eyes. Coco is glowing because she finally remembers. Now, if you watch the whole movie, Coco has just sat there the entire time. It's not until these last seconds that she remembers. This is the restorative power of music in helping us to remember. Now, as a musician and a clergy member, I've seen this time and time again. It's not just in the theaters. Music can unlock a part of our brain that illness and age can never tarnish. At my first pulpit, I visited early on a congregant with Alzheimer's and her daughter, Laureen. This woman was similar to Coco, no memory of her family, no memory of her life. She was in her 80s when I first met her. And at my first visit, I remembered that she'd grown up on a kibbutz in Israel. So I started to sing Israeli songs that I knew and loved. I sang, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. She instantly joined in. I went on, Bashana Haba'a. Again, she sang with me. She knew every single word. And then Hatikva. Tears streaming down her face, tears streaming down her daughter's face. Here I was, writing that last scene of Coco, but 6 years earlier. The connection between music in restoring memory is so important, and I believe that it's something we should all be planning for. I saw with Laureen that caring for a loved one who had no shared memories was a traumatic experience. Day in, day out, when Laureen was with her mother, she had to feel that pain over and over again. But having a shared language of music gave Laureen a way to share joy again with her mother. This was essential for her emotional well-being. And I can only imagine how disappointing and disorientating life was for Laureen's mother without her memory. The fact that I was able to restore a part of her memory and that gifting her with that feeling of happiness, that moment of singing, was one of the most defining moments in my career as a cantor, reminding me why I chose to be a cantor, a musical member of the clergy. There it was, the power of music. Musical memories are preserved in Alzheimer's disease and other dementias because key brain areas linked to musical memory are relatively undamaged by the disease. This is because there's been studies that the brain regions that encode long-term musical memory look the same in the brain of someone with dementia as they do in the brain of a young, healthy individual. The research shows that when memories have an emotional context to them, they tend to hold more power in the brain and they're processed differently. Music with ties to our memory not only can be remembered by someone with Alzheimer's, but it has the power to wake someone up from a coma and can be sung by someone who can no longer speak or understand. It's this scientific research blended with the spiritual nature of music that lets me stand here before you and say, music was created by God. Jewish tradition teaches that when God created the universe, God consulted the angels and asked them if God should give the human race the gift of music. The angels advised against it, warning God if they were given the chant, they would exploit it, they would commercialize it, turning it into a business. But God ultimately overruled them and said, I need to give the human race the gift to play music, the gift to sing my sweet melodies, so that they have a way to remember me. That when they are locked in a material place, they have something that can lift their soul towards a higher place. In my pastoral experiences, I've witnessed the extensive and spiritual power that music has to heal the sick, bring peace to the dying, and to support caregivers and grievers. Judaism explains that the souls of every Jew, past, present, and future, stood together at Mount Sinai. For it is written in the Song of Songs, God asks all of us, let me hear your voice. The sound of your voice is sweet, and the sight of you is lovely. Every soul was assigned at that moment at Mount Sinai a unique melody, which when sung gives light to our purpose on earth. At the moment of revelation, each soul sang their unique soul as part of the holiest choir. Moses heard the millions of nigunim, the millions of songs, and he collected them inside the Torah. Each melody blended with another, creating harmonies that unified the entire Jewish people. Some say that the music was so divine that the earth responded, as it's written in the Torah, with thunder and lightning in order to be part of that majestic choir. But we are born without the memory of our nigun, without the memory of our song. It's our mission to gain access, to find the nigun that we had at Mount Sinai. When we reclaim our personal song, we discover both our roots and our purpose on earth. This midrash speaks to the power that music and memory hold for the Jewish community. There are certain melodies and versions of prayers that elicit powerful memories and emotions from our past. I remember the beauty of praying outside at camp, lying on the grass, singing a version of Hashkivenu, when suddenly the night sky became a blanket of peace and protection. Every time I sing or hear this song, the safety and love I felt that night returns. Memory is one of the more powerful elements of the musical emotion. I want you, all of you, to feel inspired to think more deeply about your own soundtrack. What melodies, sacred or secular, elicit powerful memories and emotions for you? Is it the melody that your grandmother sang as she lit the Shabbat candles? Or the song you always sang at your family Seder? Or maybe the song that when it comes on the radio starts an impromptu dance party in your house? I'm here to remind you that your soundtrack is far from finished, that you must and we must remain open to discovering new music that will continue to create meaning for you on your life's journey. And I promise, as you know all cantors do, I will bring you new melodies, to your favorite prayers that you can learn to help you awaken emotional connection. Keep a journal, open a note on your phone or a Word doc, and call it David's or Billy's soundtrack. Write down the song, the composer, a sentence or paragraph on what it means to you. And in fact, even go further, create the actual playlist on Spotify or Apple Music and listen to it. Which songs help you when you're sad, make you cry, inspire dance parties, bring you joy? Share these lists and these playlists with family, friends, and even your cantor. I'd love to listen to them. Music and memory, a powerful combination. They express the mystery of life and death in a way that reaches our deepest emotions and spiritual yearnings. They connect us to thousands of years of shared history and traditions. But most importantly, they keep us connected to those we love most. And we think of those we love most right now as we transition to our closing prayers, to our Kaddish prayer.